So, Eric, I want to ask you what to do in that case when I feel kind of desperation, when I am desperate. Because, sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm so wise. I feel harmony. And it can be like 1 week. And then suddenly I lost this harmony. You remember just last week I told you, wow, 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 harmony everywhere in my heart. I'm so lucky and so happy. And yesterday I told you, I don't know. I woke up and feel I don't have any hope. I need some hope in this life because I don't have inspiration to do something. And you said me something very interesting about hope, that hope is not useful. Why? Can you remind me?
Yeah. When you say that, it makes me think of how common that is, where we feel so good and then all of a sudden we don't feel so good anymore and we're like, what happened? It was just yesterday. I felt so amazing. And with hope, the way I look at it is like it's an external dependence. So when you hope, you're hoping that something on the outside changes. You're hoping that you get a job or that you get a person or that there's something on the outside that happens to you that's going to make you feel good. And it's like any other pleasure, if you buy some new clothes, if you get a new job, if you see some friends you haven't seen, like that external pleasure makes you feel good. And that's what's like hope. And that's different than an internal change.
Hmm.
And
What do you mean internal change? How it can be like what?
so it has to do with the hope is your mind, is your thoughts, is your plans, and the fulfillment of those hopes and dreams. And the internal place doesn't have anything to do with that.
It's not about mind in
So the mind's a tricky one, especially for people who don't think the same way. And the way I talk about it is you've got the thinking mind and then you have the present mind,
hmm.
just to make it easy. And the present mind, it is not dependent on any kind of external thing. It's just in the moment. It's the conscious realization of wherever you are, and that consciousness comes through the senses. Obviously the sense of sight and your sense of hearing and touch, and there's a sense of gratitude. It's not one of the five senses, but that sense of gratitude that you have when you feel the sunshine on your face and you're there to recognize it. Because if you're lost in thought, you could have the most beautiful day in the whole world and you won't feel the sunshine on your face. I mean, you could be on a tropical island wearing awesome clothes, surrounded by amazing people, but then inside your head, you're lost in some kind of sadness for
I
whatever
had
reason.
exactly such situation. I've been on Sri Lanka, I remember, and I've been on the beautiful beach, and the weather was amazing, and I had everything what about I dreamed before. But my mind stuck in some dirty space, and I suffered just
Yeah,
on the beach in Sri Lanka on the palm tree.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we have this idea. It's really easy when you watch movies and everything else. Like, there's an external paradise, that usually involves like good weather, good food, friends, all that kind of stuff. And then there's like what you could call like that internal paradise. Um, and there's the internal paradise. There's nothing related to hope.
so as I understood, eternal paradise related to the present
Mm.
mind.
Yeah.
how to find present mind. Because in yoga we had same objects. Present mind, it's buddhi, and thinking mind we called manas. Also we have ego, ahamkara, and senses, we call it indri. So even in ancient philosophy, 5,000 years ago, some wise men already told about this
Of
on their
course.
own
Yeah.
language. But
Yeah.
still, even after 5,000 years, people don't know how to come back from manas, thinking mind, to buddhi, present mind.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What is the best way for you, for example? Because we talk with you,
Yeah,
for
let's
you.
share some things because I know you know quite a bit too. I mean, I'll share what I know and you share what you know.
Hmm.
And just right before I share something, I want to say that I continually go back and forth between those two mindsets. If just again to make it simple, Wh- the key for me is if I know that the real sense of calm and loving um, gratitude, that feeling is in the present moment, then I need to come back there. And so then how do you get back there? And there's a lot of ways to come back there. And one of them is through the breath. That is again through the ancient wisdom traditions, the breath. The breath is like waves on the seashore. It's constant. So in, out, in. So the breath, beautiful window back into the present moment. The senses, of course, like bring yourself into sense awareness. So look around, stop your thoughts through looking and seeing the world around you, through listening, through the sense of touch, body awareness, anything that kind of stops that runaway train mind, especially when your brain is like a runaway train. It's just like, one worry after another fear after another anxiety, and you don't have control. I mean, your mind's going to slow the train down, to put the brakes on, using those techniques. That's what I do. I'll come back at physical, that's why like with yoga, you do a little bit of physical activity. That's why like even going for a run, doing a little exercise. I mean, you're so into your body that you don't have energy for those thoughts.
Yeah, I can say that same for me. And also, the conversation with wise person can help
Right.
you to stop the running of the thoughts.
Mm,
Because sometimes when you are on the middle of the disease, you can't realize that you are in the disease, that your brains, when your brains work not good, the brain can't bring you medicine.
right.
And that time you really need who? You need somebody who will say to you, hey, are you lost yourself?
Right.
Come back, come
Right.
back. I
Right.
guess for this reason we need friends, or we need,
Yes.
you know, sometimes people said it's like teacher, or somebody who little bit stronger than you are right now, who little bit healthy than you are right now, and can
Right.
you, um, grasp you from your mat and come back you to reality.
Right. I completely agree. I mean, having good people around you that can help you is amazing. And even somebody who's not very conscious all the time, if they can just be there to listen, for you to just say what you need to say and get it out there, and that you can hear yourself. Because sometimes hearing yourself say something out loud instead of inside your head really helps you to be aware of that you're lost in a certain thought pattern.
Yeah, but this case I have question why the wise person moved away from the people to the forest and live alone. If we need somebody who can help us, if we need communication, why really wise person usually prefer to stay alone, far from the crowd, far from the just ears.
Well, this is my opinion as somebody who's like a student of wisdom, but certainly not a master, is that just what like if somebody is not very wise in one moment and they're with somebody who is, like that wiser person is able to help that other person. I think if that wise person is continuously surrounded by unwise people, it can drain their energy.
Yeah,
And it's just like it's if you go into if you go into nature and you're surrounded by the peace and the presence of uh the forests, of the animals, it's so amazing. And then you come into the city and just that commotion of noise and movement, it brings you out of the present. And I think that's like why those wise people, they need that solitude, that peace, because the city life or just constantly around other people, I think it's going to be more difficult to stay present.
I even had idea about this. You just remind me my one experience from the life. Like 3 years ago, I've been in Little Tibet, this retreat center in Ukrainian Carpathian
Oh
Mountains.
yeah,
And I
beautiful.
just walked on the path between the mountains. And I looked around and I saw beautiful, beautiful mountains covered the snow and beautiful flowers just in the springtime. And somewhere on the down was village. And I got idea that that's why here in the mountains I'm totally in the present, because I look on the mountains which were created not by human mind. There is nothing about human imagination. Everything around me were about imagination of, maybe you can call it like you want, about creator, source of everything. It's nature.
Hmm.
She doesn't
Right.
has anything about human imagination.
Hmm.
It's purity, purity idea, purity law of harmony. Because
Right.
everywhere in the nature you can see harmony. But if you come back to the city, what you can see? Beautiful buildings, beautiful architecture, and for sure it can be very, very beautiful. Beautiful cars, beautiful fashion clothes, beautiful streets, beautiful gardens. But everything what you see, it has addition of human mind, of human
Right.
presence.
Right.
And everywhere where is human imagination could be some little bit mistakes, because if somebody create art, it's about him, about his nature, about his inner world. And everywhere it could be like some seeds of past time, of past experience, of some injuries, or some worries, some fears, or some hopes. Everything
Right.
what mind create has human mind, include human nature. And human nature for sure has some not perfect, something not perfect.
Right. You could call it disharmony.
Yeah, but you can see it's very clear. You can go around the city and see, wow, Sagrada Familia, so beautiful. But some psychology man can say, oh, this is feature mean that he was very, very angry on somebody, and this signs or symbol means that he had desperation for that moment. But our mind can't see it, but that up consciousness can feel it.
Mm.
And the corners of buildings, very sharp, for example, in the nature you can't see anywhere very sharp feature only in the mountains. No trees, no hills, no fields doesn't have sharp corners. So everything like mama, very soft.
Yeah, and you can see, I mean, everybody's had that experience where they feel more comfortable in one setting or another. You go into one person's home and you can kind of feel that there's a sense of like care and to use the word harmony again, you just feel really comfortable there. And then other places, maybe you go in and you're just like, oof, something feels strange. Maybe it's the decorations, maybe it's the people in there. I mean, it's not just like everywhere there's humans, it needs to have that feeling of like instability. And but yeah, like when you go into nature, especially nature that's never been touched by man. It's not like a manicured garden, but just like pure raw nature. You feel the kind of universal order in there. Like
Yeah.
it's all like this organic order of things.
So nature could be the way to the present, right? Like the maybe the most easiest way.
It's definitely one of those ways to come out of that thought thinking mind. And one thing that I think is really important to know, that something for me is really important, that it doesn't matter where you are. You could be in a jail cell, you could be in the mountains on the perfect weather day, you could be with bad people, you could be with good people. There's always a way to come back out of um, that overwhelming thinking mind. Also, that the thinking mind is useful. It's not about getting rid of the thinking mind and never having the thinking mind. I mean, it's useful so that we realize that there's like useful tools like doing yoga, meditation, going to nature. All those things are useful, and just because one thing could be a little bit better than the other doesn't mean that you don't have to socialize with people that are a little wild, or spend time in the city, or whatever. Like, it's life, it's about exploring and adventures and things. It's just understanding the influences.
Yeah. Same, one man in India just few weeks ago in the mountains, he said me that uh, that men who live in the mountains in the cave, they are not authorities. They are, he said, uh, they're not the escapist. He called
Mm,
it not like Rishi, not the wise real man, but he called it doesn't mean that he's holy man if he live in the cave or in the forest. He said probably he's escapist, somebody who ran away from
mm.
the responsibilities and the hardest of the social life. But it's another question.
What do you think about that? Does that sound true to you?
Not always, I guess. Some people really escape their reality and responsibilities, and they move to. I saw such people really in the Gangotri, near the source of Ganga. I saw one guy from Mumbai. He lived in the cave many, many years, and he had really struggle conditions. But after a conversation with him, I realized that he's like 25 years old, and probably he just ran away from the just lack of power to decide his life, to create his life.
Mm,
But in the same time, I guess it could be some people who already realized themselves in social life, who already had nice job, nice career, and even family. And then when he was already like 60 years old, he said, okay, for me, enough all this success and luxuries. Now I want to dedicate myself just for silence.
right.
And he moved to the forest, and not just because he ran away from social life, but because he decided to get another experience.
Yeah. It's amazing, Regina, is that like we're all escapists. If you look at the guys in the mountains or the guys watching Netflix, I mean, everybody wants to escape a little bit, watch a movie, the guys at the bar, this is normal human uh condition, that life is a challenge. I mean, we should get that like basic child education. It's like, listen, here's the deal. Life is going to be challenging constantly your entire life. That's just what life is. Life is one giant challenge after another. That challenges, and I mean, I'm not saying difficulties, I'm saying challenges. Challenges can be extremely rewarding. And actually, I think that's the nature of challenges. They actually are rewarding. It just depends on how we handle them.
What do you
And
mean revolted?
rewarding.
Yeah, what is this?
So rewarding, you get a reward, right? Like if you
Like
do something, then
some
you get a
benefits?
reward. Yeah, benefits.
Okay.
So I think everybody's had an experience where they've had something that was very challenging, and then they um, faced the challenge, they overcame the challenge, and then they feel better. You're like, wow, I feel better after this.
Yeah, for
Um,
example, climbing to the mountain, to the peak, and you feel challenge, and then you on the peak and you feel, wow, so beautiful view, and I'm so strong, and I'm so proud of myself.
yeah, but it wasn't easy to get up there, you know? And you can say that with, relationships, with a friendship or with a romantic relationship. If it goes bad, it really hurts. And then later on, they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I mean, you went through that challenge, your heart was broken, and then later on you realize, oh my gosh, like I learned so much more about myself, about my range of emotions, about relationships with other people. And then you take that knowledge, that experience, and then you bring it into the next relationship. And hopefully you learn something from your challenges. I mean, that's the silly thing when you see somebody that has the same challenge over and over, life keeps giving them the same lesson and they don't go, from the university class 1 to university class 2. They just stay in the same class over and over learning the same lesson. And so the thing is with challenges though, if it's like being, if you're educated, and I know for example, I feel like I had to self-educate with this. If challenges are part of life, like it's fundamental, we're going to be challenged every day of our life, some days more than others. And then you're like, okay, well, if life's a challenge, like how do I make the best of it? Like, and how do I actually live a life of like real joy? Then it's like, okay, well, like to come back to the beginning of this conversation, if I'm lost in thought, that's not going to help my challenges. I'm only going to be worse. I'm just going to think about all the bad things that could happen. And you're like, okay, so got to stay present. And then it's like, okay, I surround myself with great people who can help me out with these challenges and give me perspective and advice. Then you learn, okay, you know what? It's easier if I have challenges, if my body's healthy. So I gotta, how do I take care of my body? It's easier to do challenges if my brain is good. So it's like, okay, I need enough sleep. I need to be not stressed. And you learn all these things, and then all of a sudden, this life of challenges is a life of uh, I'm just gonna say joy, because you're like, woohoo! Like I'm on the ride, I'm here, challenges, woo! And then you just keep doing them, and you go,
Yeah, this idea remind me, you know what, that fearless. That if your attitudes to everything like is just game about challenges,
yeah,
you feel like there is no place for fears, because even that something broken in your life, it just was challenge, and you become stronger or weaker, and everything about just play with destiny.
yeah.
So
And
no place for fears, just experience.
well, I mean, fears is natural, because nobody's born, um, you know, I don't want to use loaded terms, but nobody's born enlightened. That's just not the deal, man. It's something that you have to work for, like go overcoming fears. And you could have the wisest parents in the world. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I have idea. Let's talk about fears last time. Next time, sorry. Let's talk
Good,
about
good.
fears next time, because uh, it could be something interesting, and it could be very long
Yeah.
topic.
Okay.
That I guess today we just talk about how to come our desperation and how to come back to
Mm,
present. I guess it could be
hmm.
already enough.
Great. I like it.
Thank you a lot. Thank you for this conversation. I feel it
Thank
was
you.
really useful and helpful